views and opinions of any of the guests of After Hours AM are not necessarily the views and opinions of After Hours AM, its hosts, its staff, or any of its affiliates.
Welcome to the After Hours program.
Are you ready?
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
Now broadcasting live from the After Hours AM studio, Joel Sturgis and Eric Olsen.
And we had a devil child. Devil child got glowing eyes. The boy that hated and that well. Devil child got soul to mine. My baby had a devil child. She got horns on her head and a head on fire. Demon seed at night, breed a wish of desire. A dead child of guns, blood, a favorite drink. A charge to the devil's card.
And good evening, everybody, and welcome to this edition of After Hours AM, the Criminal Code. And, of course, as always, I'm your host, Joel Sturgis, right along with me.
Eric Olsen and Dr. Clarissa Cole.
Hi, I'm not here right now, guys. No, Dr. Cole is, she'll be joining us in the second hour. The first hour, she had to duck out. She had some pre-existing conditions. No, I'm just joking, because we talked about that last night. We'll get to that in a second. But she had to go and tend to the day job stuff. But she will be joining us to interview Garry McFadden tonight. And wow, what a guy! You know,
yeah, that was it's something.
Yeah, he is. You know, we've talked to him off air and stuff, and really, he's very proactive in his community. And, of course, he'll be at the top of the hour. And as everybody knows, he has the show on ID Discovery or Investigation Discovery, I Am Homicide. You're going to want to check that out because he doesn't necessarily use the show for fame. He uses a vehicle for outreach. And, you know, I mean, he reaches out with that, uses that as the vehicle. And so he's going to talk all about that. And, of course, you know, I really want to talk with him about the latest shooting in Minnesota, and we'll get to that. Also, but point of programming, we launched a whole new show last night, and it was After Hours AM, Deeper Cuts, and really we had Andrea Perron was our first guest right out of the gate, and Andrea's a sweetheart. You know that. We had her on when we talked about the Conjuring films and what it was
absolutely.
like. And
she's an author.
She really is.
An activist.
Yeah, exactly, and she's so intelligent. We had her on last night, and of course, we were going to go and talk pretty much paranormal is what we thought. Me and Greg, the newest co-host of the show, we were going to talk paranormal. She switched gears and really got down and dirty to what's wrong with this country and society. If you've never heard her speak out, and I know I got a lot of pushback, a little bit, going, well, that wasn't paranormal at all. That really wasn't the point of the show. The point of the show is to get to know the guests that we didn't have a chance to really learn about in the first time they were on. This is more of a deeper cut, exactly the name, deeper cut, into who they are. You know, rather than the product at the moment, but who are they behind that product? What makes them tick? And that's mainly what the show is about. It's a platform for anyone to come and speak, no matter what issue that they have. I understand that everybody was anticipating a strictly paranormal show. I may not deliver that every week. If somebody wants to go down the rabbit hole of whatever social issue or issue is bothering them and bothering me and really impacting us as a people, I'm more than happy to go down that way. And I know, Eric, you are as well.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we love the paranormal. Obviously, we are absolutely rooted in it. And we live it, we love it, we talk about it, we are super fascinated by all the various implications, ramifications, really kind of every aspect of it. I find it amazing and mind-boggling and kind of endlessly fascinating. But it ties in the paranormal.
Yeah.
Touches upon all the rest of life and the real world. It doesn't exist in a vacuum.
Exactly.
So things come along, topics come up, and remember how key to the paranormal and understanding the paranormal is history. Well, what are current events but merely history happening now, right?
Well, yeah, and of course, she lost her sister, and I don't want to give away too much of the show. Anyone that hasn't heard it, go download it, and I understand that this may not be the paranormal programming you're looking for, but it's definitely touching the issues that are affecting you today beyond the paranormal. It's things that are really that is separating us as a people that she touched on. And she also touched on basically Big Washington and how it sold us down the river. It's odd. It was a strange show for me because that's not necessarily my wheelhouse politics. But my gosh, as you guys know, listen to the show. Me and Eric, we do not shy away from that topic at all. If that topic does come up and it needs to be talked about, we will talk about it. So again, check it out, download it. Let me know what you think of the new edition of the show. If you love it, let me know. If you think that it needs work, let me know. All those great things. But we're hoping for great things in the new edition to After Hours AM. But that being said, all that stuff out of the way, man, we don't have Dr. Cole with us, and I can definitely tell that her energy is not here behind the microphone, but she is here in spirit. But she was nice enough to do what she does every week and give us true crime headlines. Yeah, she's the force behind the headlines. And, of course, as always, brought to you by thecriminalcode.com. You can find whatever you ever want to know about true crime, about serial killers, about mass killers, and also get the doctor's workup on what makes these killers work and what their motives are, which is actually, Eric, extremely rare to get that anymore.
Well, that's what's valuable about it. You can get the true crime news pretty much anywhere, but what you're getting on her site, the Criminal Code, is her actual professional analysis of these killers and why they do what they do and what motivates them. And she really finely defines what kind of killer they are, what kind of serial killer. I didn't even know there were so many different kinds, but there's a ton of different kinds. So it's both a really interesting combination of kind of technical stuff. So she's giving us the real inside lowdown on how these people are diagnosed. But then it's also very much just storytelling. It's telling the tale of these people and their victims.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
She's a very good writer, and her personality comes through her writing, just like it does here on the show.
Yep, it really does. I mean, you get the same thing, except, she's able to really go into detail on her own website where it's in writing versus trying to slip in a complete diagnosis in 5 minutes. It just doesn't happen that way, or, what she feels is going on. So it really fleshes out more than what we could ever do in a 2-hour program. So it's really worth checking it out. But that being said, man, she did deliver us some headlines, and you are Dr. Cole for tonight. And so,
yes, I am.
Yes, you are. And
I have red hair, flowing red hair.
Yeah, but you'll never be as cute. I'm sorry, Eric. You'll just never be as cute.
Probably not. I face up to that fact.
Well, she is, the good doctor. So, where do you want to go with this? Where would you like to start?
You mentioned what kicked off Andrea away from the paranormal into current events is what happened to her sister, who I guess died of a opioid overdose.
Yeah. And
check this out. Prosecutors in Florida believe a 10-year-old boy who died with the painkiller fentanyl in his system is among the state's youngest victims of the opioid crisis. 10 years old.
And that's just such an epidemic. In fact, Andrea's sister, let me get rid of this audio off their website. Thank you, ABC. Her sister was scheduled, and you'll hear this on the show, but I'll just give you quick, was scheduled for surgery the day before she passed, and she took a fentanyl patch along with oxycodone as directed by her doctor and passed away. So,
God.
Man, it's an epidemic.
How frustrating is that?
It's just such an epidemic out there, and it's affecting every city in America in some form or fashion.
So this was just a straight overdose, yet she was prescribed?
Yes, she was prescribed and directed by her doctor.
What do you do about that?
I don't know. I do not know. And
sounds like malpractice to me.
I would be shopping for an attorney, and I didn't ask her that because it's none of my business. And she didn't offer it, and I didn't want to pry too hard, of course, but in the legal end of things. But if I were her and her family, and we dearly love Andrea, I would definitely be looking into an attorney for malpractice.
All right. Well, as far as this Florida story, terrible, terrible tale of a 10-year-old. Preliminary toxicology tests show Alton Banks had fentanyl in his system when he collapsed and died at his home on June 23rd. Health officials say fentanyl and other synthetic forms of the drug are so powerful that just a speck, think of this, a speck breathed in or absorbed through the skin can be fatal.
Really?
Oh, my Lord.
Damn.
Think of that. And that's what they happened to this poor kid. This wasn't a case of it being around the home or him having access to it or anything like that. They said there's no evidence he came into contact with the drug at home. They think he may have been exposed to it at the pool where he'd been swimming that day.
That's insane.
Or on his walk home in Miami's Overtown community, which has been very hard hit by the opioid epidemic. So he literally may have just touched, not even been aware of it, touched a speck
residue more or less,
and died of an overdose. Think of that.
Wow. Oh, my
Lord.
Lord.
That's I guess it's too strong.
How is this medication allowed to be outside of a hospital?
I don't know. The state attorney who's handling the case said he was out playing, like we all want our children to do. We're anxiously hoping that someone comes forward to help us solve this horrific.
Damn.
Yeah.
That poor kid.
It's awful.
That is just an awful, awful tragedy.
He wanted to become an engineer.
Oh.
Man,
Lordy,
oh, man,
Lordy,
oh, man.
Lordy.
Yep. She's... all right. Fentanyl is so powerful that some police departments have warned officers about even touching the drug.
Yeah. You know, when my wife was in labor, they gave her a fentanyl patch. That is so strong, it stops labor pains. Now, I'm not even pretend to know what those pains are, although I have had a kidney stone, and they say that those pains are very similar, intensity.
Well, you're passing a large object
exactly,
through a very small
and so if
hole.
Exactly. So if that fentanyl patch, which when I asked them how much was in the patch, it was actually like, 1 milligram or something of fentanyl. If it's that powerful to stop labor pain, can you imagine what it would do to a 10-year-old's body being so tiny? Wow, man,
it's just shocking.
Last
year, check this out. Last year, 3 police dogs in Broward County got sick after sniffing the drug during a federal raid. I mean, that's how powerful it is.
Man, it just boggles my mind how that can be used or administered outside the direct supervision of a physician or a registered nurse in outside a hospital setting.
The Florida's clearly taking it seriously. The Florida legislature passed a law that imposes stiff minimum mandatory sentences on dealers caught with 4 grams, that's only 0.14 ounces, or more of fentanyl or its variants. The law also makes it possible to charge dealers with murder
if
they provide a fatal dose. Now, you as a quasi-libertarian, do you think that goes too far?
Well, if they deal it and the person dies from it, I guess they got a case, to be honest with you, because they're aware of how powerful this drug is that they're selling. It's not like they don't know what they're selling. They know exactly what they're selling. I almost want to say, though, oversteps just a little bit. I guess instead of the dealer, they should go further up the chain and get the distributor. Get them out of the picture if they want to do something truly good. But, man, I don't know. It's a slippery slope. What do you think?
Well, as is always the case, when we have really large and especially desperate societal upheaval, as is certainly the case right now with this whole opioid epidemic, which, I mean, it really is. Usually when you have a term like epidemic, it's kind of hyperbole. But no, this is a true epidemic, I think, really kind of in every sense of the word. So you're going to tend to get overreach because, that's the way it goes. It's that yin-yang. It's the it's the lurching to the left, the lurching to the right,
it's
and
the
eventually
pendulum. It's the pendulum swing.
It's the pendulum, and hopefully eventually you end up in the middle. But I mean, so I would think you would really have to. It would be difficult to prove intent because murder is about intent.
Yeah.
Homicide means you were instrumental in someone's death.
Yes.
But murder means you had intent.
Yes. Exactly.
So
I don't know about murder, but maybe low-end manslaughter would be
certainly manslaughter. I would imagine now they can
I can't see flat-out murder because I wouldn't imagine any dealer. And I have no idea how this business works, the ins and outs and this and that, but I don't know. It's just...
Listen to these numbers. It really is truly shocking. All right, first of all, we're only talking about Miami-Dade County, so the greater Miami, city of Miami area.
Yeah.
300 overdose deaths last year. Think about it. 300 just in Miami.
Yeah, just in Miami, the city of Miami.
In 1 year.
300 of them
and
in a year.
In the state of Florida, 853 deaths. And we're not talking about all opioids. We're just talking about fentanyl.
But then somebody else would turn around and say, yeah, well, cars kill a whole lot more people and we're not suing GM.
Well, but look at the changes in that industry. First of all, safety has become more and more important and has become a greater and greater factor in how the valuation of cars. And the biggest change of all time since the dawning of the automobile, well over 100 years ago now, we're going to electric cars, and it's coming soon. And it's coming not electric, but also self-driving.
I saw that. I saw that actually. I'm a bit of a car guy, and I was watching. I watch on Channel 8. Alan Alda has a show once in a while about cars from MASH, and they were showing Google has a car that can drive itself. Recognize traffic, goes in and out. It's all drive by wire, so to speak, with the GPS. It recognizes traffic, all laws. It recognizes pedestrians. Really, it is not that far off, and us driving a car will become optional rather than mandatory. Can you imagine
eventually
lives?
It won't even be optional.
Well, can you imagine lives that will be saved just taking the option away from someone that's drank too much?
Yeah, it's going to make an enormous difference and you're absolutely right. Even though there have been lots of safety improvements in the cars themselves and the laws and the signs, there's just been a lot bigger, more and more emphasis on safety over the last few decades in an escalating manner. But this is going to be a quantum leap when it goes to self-driving cars. It doesn't mean nothing will ever go wrong because, of course, something will at some point. But it's going to reduce the deaths by thousands.
But think about this. Let's just say, Eric, you have a self-driving car. And you want to come see me, and I'm 1,000 miles away. Jump in the car and go to bed.
I know, isn't that funny? Or read, or listen,
or whatever.
Watch a movie, or do whatever.
I'll get there in the morning, so and show up, and get up, and there you go. Now, how much longer until the human is completely taken out, like as in truck drivers that are doing, distributing freight, things like that? How much longer till we see that they're no longer needed because of the self-driving capabilities? So, I mean, it's kind of a great technology, but then we're going to start talking about taking away jobs.
Oh yeah, you're right on the truck end, on the freight end, that probably will not be changing for a while because there will be aspects of it, that require human intervention. But I think even trucks, you're going to see at least heading in that direction, maybe some sort of hybrid type situation, like with an override, a human override or something like that. Yeah. But I mean, clearly the arrow of time is pointed away from human operation
and I'm okay with that.
Of vehicles, and it's going to save thousands and thousands of lives, and that's why it's going to work.
It is, and I'm sick of driving, Eric. I'm sick of driving. It's boring. We've been doing it as many years as we have. It's kind of boring.
It is. I get a certain satisfaction out of a long trip, but I don't make a lot of long trips.
No.
If I'm on a long trip, I can kind of shift into a different frame of mind. And we we talk, we listen to music, we go through the different Sirius XM channels. It's kind of therapeutic. It's fun if we're all in the car together, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But if we did it a lot, it would get old super fast.
Yeah. Yeah. Road trips,
driving
the
around
family.
town. Yeah, I couldn't care less.
As do I. I don't care, and I don't do road trips very often because I have young children, and they are hell to travel with.
It is difficult.
They are just flat out hell to travel with. No, thank you. I'm good. I'm
going on a trip with my two youngest, the 13 and 17-year-old, and she's going to visit some colleges. So we're going to make a little drive across Pennsylvania. We're going to end up in New York City, and that's just in a couple weeks.
Very, very cool. Sounds like a lot of fun. So what do we got next on the old Dr. Cole's old agenda of true crime headlines?
Well, we have your state
again
figuring very prominently in the news. Bride-to-be called 911 for help, ends up being fatally shot by a Minneapolis police officer. This one is truly inexplicable.
It really
I just don't get it.
I don't get it either because, well, you'll go into it because there's some points here that go, why was he shooting at her? I mean? So
absolutely bizarre. A yoga and meditation teacher living in Minneapolis was fatally shot by police Saturday night after she called 911 to report a possible assault in the alley behind her home.
Mm-hmm.
The woman was identified by family and local and Australian news reports as 40-year-old Justine Damond, a native Australian who studied to be a veterinarian in Sydney before moving to Minneapolis to be with her fiancé, Don Damon. The couple planned to marry next month, but Justine Damon had already taken her fiancé's last name.
Sure.
The call for help came just before 11:30 p.m. Saturday. According to the Minnesota Bureau for Criminal Apprehension, the state agency investigating the shooting, 2 Minneapolis Police Department officers went to an alley near her home in the Fulton neighborhood on the city's southwest side. At one point, an officer fired their weapon, fatally striking a woman. The statement said, well, that makes it sound like an accident.
Yeah, he shot through the door to get her. He shot right through the door. According to what I've heard anyway from our news reports, our local news reports, which are always deeper because in the epicenter than usually the national AP stuff, that this individual shot her through the door of the police cruiser. I
am waiting to get to there. I haven't seen that yet, but unfortunately, there is no video.
Of course,
neither of the officers had turned on their body cameras, and the squad car camera did not capture the incident either. Yeah. Investigators are looking to see if other video of the shooting exists, and of course, they give the names of let's see, blah blah blah. No, they don't give the names of anyone. All Minneapolis police officers have worn body cameras since the end of 2016. Yep. A policy decision that was announced last July after black motorist Philando Castile was fatally shot by a police officer. So really, there's just no information at all, and it doesn't say anything about. It doesn't say anything in this article about the door. The mayor, of course, is complaining. Yeah. He's worried. He's wondering. He's calling it a tragic incident, and he's wondering why they did not have their body cameras on. I guess everyone is probably wondering what that is. Let me see. I'm still trying to see what more information. Very little information has been given out on this yet.
It's very zip-lip. I've heard some things from and reporters on the ground that I know personally, and they've kind of told me a little bit here and there, but kind of off the record. This is what we've heard. This is what is going. We think was going on. But of course, there's no official announcement as far as the investigation goes. They're going to wait, of course, to release anything, and I will do the same. I'll wait until releasing what I've heard. Now, that being said, I did talk to Mike Warden, and everyone knows that he's one of New York City's finest, and he's been on the show a few times. And I had mentioned body cams, and he also told me that body cams have to be manually turned on to work. that they have to be actually switched on, switched off, generally speaking. And, of course, when you're in the heat of a call, a lot of officers will forget to turn the body cam on, stuff like that. But, yeah, it's that whole the user has to enact it. It should have been motion activated. I would assume it should have been. But I would imagine they run into all sorts of battery issues and everything else, taking pictures of when he's in the can or whatever.
Right.
That kind of stuff. So I get that part of it. But why they did not have that on, I have no idea. And everyone else is going, what the hell? That's the first thing you do is flip that body cam on.
Well, so that's a key issue. All right, here's what you were sort of alluding to, but it is stated in this article, so we can say it. 3 people with knowledge of the incident said the responding officers pulled into the alley behind Damon's home. The woman, wearing pajamas, approached the driver's side door and was talking to the driver, reported the Star Tribune. The officer in the passenger seat shot Damon through the driver's side door.
Yeah.
These 3 people said. So literally from inside the car.
the vehicle.
Sounds like an accident to me.
Well, it might be, but what's he doing fiddling around with his gun?
I don't know.
That's the next question now. Okay, if it is indeed an accident, it's a tragic accident, and my Lord, I really feel bad for everyone involved, including the officers. This is a horrible, horrible thing. But what the hell was this guy doing fiddling around with his gun in the first place? In the vehicle? I mean, does safety not really matter to him, or what was going on there? Because now this has wrongful death suit written all over it.
Oh my Lord! I mean, no matter how it happened, or why it happened, or under what the circumstances, it is as wrong as it gets.
Oh,
and if it was an accident, they need to own up to it, and they should have owned up to it right away.
No,
saying I didn't mean to do it; it was an accident.
Well, yeah, but then
you would at least then have an understanding of how it happened.
But would the officer be brought up on charges for involuntary manslaughter then?
I don't know, but I think he would be viewed much more favorably
you know what I mean?
if he admitted it.
Oh yeah, I agree with you, but this I would almost, just judging by other stories we covered with something similar, would fall almost under. I wish Clarissa were here to weigh in on this, but it would kind of fall into, in my opinion, involuntary manslaughter, and something has to be done. This just cannot be glossed over.
If it was an accident, then yes, that I would think absolutely that's what it would be. If something else is going on, then of course we need to find out about it.
Yeah.
But it sounds like, I mean, all right, you got 2 cops.
Yeah.
So basically the driver is going to have to rat out.
Oh yeah, it's going to have to happen
or
now.
Else they're not going to have any information at all if these guys just clam up.
No, unless there is a witnesses. They haven't spoken about any witnesses yet.
Right.
And I heard a little mouse told me that there may be a couple witnesses.
Well, I hope so.
And so, and as soon as they give me the green light, the colleagues that I know in the state, because we kind of work together here and there. As soon as they say, "Hey, go ahead, talk about it," I would like to have one of them come on the show and talk about this case. And if it indeed was an accident, what brought that forth and what protocols should have been in place.
I agree entirely. So we don't really know what happened. We know it's a tragedy. Obviously, it is not appropriate. It is not justified. I mean, this was a woman who was concerned about being a potential victim.
Yeah.
And she ends up being shot by the police.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly what seemed to be on the outside looking in went on. And I sure hope it was truly an accident, not something willful. If it comes out that it's willful, Oh, boy, it's going to be a messy, messy day in Minneapolis. We come back. We got more After Hours AM and, of course, more true crime headlines. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back right after this.
Some in the water, maybe something that I breathe. Something from a bedtime story, something from the sea.
Hey, you're listening to After Hours AM, and if you're listening to us via podcast, make sure you like us, follow us, review us, tell your friends about us, tell grandma about us, and keep listening.
This is Jen McGowan, founder of Wayward Souls Promotions, a company dedicated to helping individuals, teams, radio shows, and others that are seeking exposure for their individual events, conventions, and shows. We offer a wide variety of advertising, such as web-based article, social media posts, podcast advertisement, and so on. Contact us at paranormalpromotion@gmail.com, visit us on Facebook at Wayward Souls Promotions, and visit our website at www.waywardsoulspromotions.com.
Hey everybody, this is Joel Sturgis, and did you know that After Hours AM and America's Most Haunted have a great new website out there? You're going to want to visit America's-Most-Haunted.com. There you can get all the new content from all the writers for America's Most Haunted, as well as the great haunted headlines everybody loves each and every week, as well as catch After Hours AM live right there, along with podcasts, past shows, and get to know your hosts, as well as contact us all in one stop. You're going to love it. You're not going to want to go anywhere else. So come to America's-Most-Haunted.com today. Anavar Media LCC is a dedicated team of professionals committed to helping business development scale and protect their websites, mobile applications, enterprise software solutions in the Northeast Ohio area. Locally owned since 2012, our client-centered values truly sets Anavar apart. Contact us today to learn how you can get 25% off your first project. Call them at 234-380-4852. Again, that's 234-380-4852, or visit them at www.anavar.com. Again, that's www.anavar.com. You're listening to After Hours AM. Do you have a question for the guests or even the host? That's really easy. Go ahead and email those questions to afterhoursam@gmail.com. Are you feeling like picking up the phone and being part of the show? Call us at 612-326-6874, 612-326-6874. Come be part of the madness.
The number you have reached, 911, has been changed to a non-published number.
And welcome back to After Hours AM, everybody. This is After Hours AM, the Criminal Code. And I'm your host, Joel Sturgis, right along with me,
Eric Olsen.
And hey, Eric, man, it's really weird not having Clarissa, but we are making it through. I think we're doing a pretty darn good job, if you ask me. But
sure
again,
we are.
All these headlines are brought to you by thecriminalcode.com. Again, that's our beautiful and lovely doctor, our resident doctor of the show, Clarissa Cole's very, very own website. So go over there, check that out after the show, of course. Read some great articles and get to know even the doctor a little bit better. And, of course, you guys, most of you already know how to contact her over there. So keep on doing that, and she will keep on putting out good content. And she does take requests. So if there is a killer that you want to know more about, she will truly write up, and she will give the full criminal code treatment to that case. So that being said, let's get back to the headlines.
Well, we seem to have a serial killer on our hands in upper middle class Bucks County, Pennsylvania, which is actually close. It's about halfway between Philadelphia and New York City.
Okay.
And real good friends of mine used to live there, so I've been there visiting. Very cool place. You would never expect to find a serial killer there, but
no.
Where would you expect to find?
Well, that
a
is
serial
true. That is true. Everyone's always so shocked when they find one. It's not like it's any secret that they're out there, but when they actually find one, I mean, look how shocked people were when they found Dahmer's apartment full of dead bodies.
Oh my God, yeah. Well, that was nuts. That's for
that
sure.
was crazy. I remember watching
there were
that.
so many, and various states of disrepair, and oh my Lord, that was something.
Yeah, that was nuts.
And as we know, I have been to Halloween parties.
You have been
at his childhood home.
See, now I am kind of in a weird way jealous of that.
Oh, don't be.
Just in a weird way, I mean, just in that weird, because we're kind of odd people to begin with. Come on, we're talking about true crime here. But
they were fun parties, though.
I bet they were. Was there any paranormal activity in the home? Did they ever say?
Our friend who owns it, and he owns it still, but he doesn't live there anymore.
Rents it out.
He's not, I don't think, particularly oriented toward the paranormal.
Gotcha.
He said he never really kind of picked up on much of anything. But I think I told you when we've talked about this. The first time we went, I think we went to 2 Halloween parties, and I think we went one other time for a different party, for a non-Halloween party.
Yeah.
But that very first Halloween party, it was weird, and there's kind of a spooky vibe. But of course, it was Halloween anyway.
Yeah. Well.
But by the time we got home that night, Dawn, my wife, who does seem to be sensitive, especially under certain circumstances. I don't think she is all the time, but
sure.
When she is, she really is.
Yeah.
She said she had nightmares for a week. For a week.
Wow.
About that place. I mean, every night for a week.
I would imagine
she picked up on something.
There had to have been something there. I'd love to see someone go in there, if he'd be willing, of course, the perfect world, go in there and film like Greg or someone from Minnesota Ghost Box and see if there's any paranormal activity to this day in there. I know, according to reports, the Bundy childhood home actually has quite a bit of activity going on in it.
I wouldn't surprise me.
So, yeah, exactly. It doesn't surprise me a bit. In fact, I'm like, why wouldn't there be?
Exactly.
If there wasn't, that'd be even weirder.
It seems like it would be odder still. I agree.
Yes, sir.
With that kind of concentrated, dark, evil energy in one place,
God, yes.
You would think that would do something.
Yeah, exactly. So anyhow, getting back to this serial killer, they catch him in Bucks County.
Bucks County, Pennsylvania. The guy's name is Cosmo DiNardo, and I'm sure everyone's heard about these 4 young men who disappeared and turned up in his yard. Buried in his yard. They found him.
So the guy actually, just so I can wrap my own mind around this for a second, was dumb enough to bury them in his own yard?
Yep.
What is wrong with that picture? Does anybody really understand? That's nuts. Okay, at first, if I'm a serial killer, I'm not burying them in my house or in my yard. Learn from Gacy. Learn from him. You do not want to have them on the premises.
Right. I mean, yes, that seems logical. So not only are there 4 that have been found and identified who disappeared quite recently. I mean, they were only missing a relatively short period of time. But there's another young man from that area who disappeared on June 1st at a 7-Eleven in Bucks County, and no one has heard from him since either. Even more, I don't know if it's more disturbing, but adding fuel to the fire here.
Yeah.
According to the New York Times, this guy, this DiNardo, in his murder confession last Thursday, admitted to killing 2 other people in Philadelphia when he was 15.
Wow, that guy's just a killing fool. My
Unbelievable.
Lord.
And he's been prone to violence.
Yeah, I would say.
Let's see. DiNardo assaulted 2 strangers at a mall, also when he was 15. punching two men who were talking to his then girlfriend.
Wow, this guy's got some real issues. He's a dangerous person, obviously, because he's a serial killer, but you could definitely see the building up to this kind of activity.
Exactly. I think this must be the then girlfriend. Her name's Amber Peters. She's 20. Cosmo was crazy, she said. He's been talking about killing people since he was 14.
Wow, you don't say he's crazy. Thank you, Amber. We couldn't figure that one out on our own, but thank you very, very much. How old is Cosmo? Does it say?
Let's see. Cosmo is 20.
Wow, he's just a young pup yet.
He is only 20.
Wow,
yep.
Just a kid, and now he is going to be, I'm going to assume, unless they have the death penalty, I'm not sure in that state, he will be the rest of his life behind bars.
One would imagine.
I sure hope so. Sure hope they don't let him out going, well, we have a great new catch-and-release program here at the prison. Guess who's getting released? You! Ha! Go kill with impunity. We'll see you later.
Can you believe that OJ may very well get out?
Right. OJ is getting out of jail, and
because they can't hold the murders against him.
No, they can't because he was acquitted.
He was acquitted in criminal court,
yeah.
But he was found culpable in civil court.
Yes.
But I guess they can't use the civil aspect.
Yeah. Well, no, they can't because it's two totally separate things. Like Clarissa said before, that civil and criminal, because there's a much less burden on the civil than there is the criminal. The burden of proof is much less.
Yes,
you need to prove.
exactly.
So
that's right.
The threshold is just so much broader in the civil than in the criminal. And I'm kind of looking at these headlines that she was gracious enough to give us again at thecriminalcode.com. Check it out, thecriminalcode.com. Another plug that she gave us. It says, teacher busted for birthday sex with teen. What? Am I reading this correctly, or am I just not reading correctly?
Well, she blames mental illness.
What?
A Nebraska teacher charged with having birthday sex with a 16-year-old led a double life.
My God, she's not that ugly either. Really, you take those glasses off, maybe do her hair a little bit.
Well, she's only 27.
Yeah, she's just a kid herself, really. And so she had birthday sex. Imagine that birthday party. Happy birthday!
Oh my Lord!
Down and dirty.
Clarissa's little response here. So we're getting a little piece,
a little taste
of Clarissa's. I don't know of any mental illness that causes a person to sleep with minors other than pedophilia.
True, and maybe this lady has it, but they're not saying that in this. No, I'll let you go on with this story because I don't want to keep interrupting you because we don't have a ton of time left, and this is a weird story. It kind of is.
A Nebraska teacher charged with having birthday sex with a 16-year-old led a double life because she's mentally ill, her lawyer claimed in court. Emily Lofting, 27, who taught at Nebraska City Middle School in Weeping Water, allegedly slept with the boy last year and was sentenced Monday to 90 days jail, 2 years probation, and 240 hours of community service.
Wow.
Lofting's lawyer blamed her predatory behavior on her family history of depression and work stress. That's the tragedy of mental illness, Solomon told the judge. It doesn't know demographics. It doesn't know race. It doesn't know age. It doesn't know education. And when mental illness strikes, it can sometimes do so without any warning.
So she gets freaky naughty with the minor and gets caught, of course, the hand in the cookie jar, so to speak. And she turns around and says, "It wasn't me. It was my mental illness. A combination of work stress and depression made me sleep with a 16." BS, lady. BS. I'm not buying it for 1 second. You were, you know what? You want to get it on this kid. And that's wrong of you, number one. Very, very wrong of you. Naughty lady. Naughty teacher. Why didn't I have you when I was a kid in school? That's my second question. Always when these come up. But that one not withholding. You deserve what you get at this point.
Check this out, though.
Yeah.
All right, so all this is supposed to be about her mental illness, right?
Yeah.
And the lawyer says that she has letters of support indicating Lofting's crime was completely uncharacteristic. They speak of a period of time when Ms. Lofting was living a double life.
Double life.
People who have known her for her entire life were shocked at this type of behavior. But, all right, so that would lead you to believe that this was not premeditated, right?
That would lead me. Her asleep in the 16-year-old was not premeditated? No, there is a thing there's a time in between called derobing, taking the clothes off, where you have a chance to think about what you're about to do.
Well, listen to this. You're right, but listen to this. It's even more damning, okay? This is what the judge said. This alleged indiscretion, I'll say, took place on the victim's 16th birthday. You were less than 24 hours from a felony. See, she was only charged with misdemeanor because the age of consent in Nebraska is 16. Do you think that is a coincidence?
No, I do not think that's a coincidence at all.
She only got 90 days.
90 days for basically having sex with a minor. And because the age of consent was 16, he could give that consent. She's not stupid. Yes, you're right. It's premeditation. She thought about this. She wanted to ride the pogo stick, and she got caught doing so.
That's kind of what it sounds like to me.
Exactly.
Said she could be out in as little as 53 days with good behavior, so a month and a half, in other words. Well, almost 2 months. And, so in other words, this was a much less serious offense than if it had taken place 24 hours earlier.
On a related note, they have to surgically remove the smile off the 16-year-old boy's face.
So once again, we are facing one of these teacher minor indiscretions.
Oh, God, but Eric...
it is not unusual, it would appear,
well, evidently, I'm surprised they don't have a hookup lounge in every high school now. That's how common this seems to be, because I don't know about you, but when I was going to school, I didn't have really any of these teachers that, were like, hey, baby. Well, actually, I can't say that. I did date a teacher. Never mind. But I was of age. Okay? I was 18 years old. All right? So I was of age. But, really, and it was the 90s. Total different time than it is today. But what I'm saying now, this was obviously premeditated. He is a minor, and she has really got a slap on the wrist. But I'm sure she lost her job. She had to have lost her job.
Oh, yeah, she lost her license.
Okay, I sure hope that happened at least.
Lost her teaching license.
Now you can go ahead and see her at the Bearded Oyster. What's that place on Family Guy, the Bearded Clam or whatever? you watch the cartoon, right?
Yes, but not often because it annoys me.
It doesn't annoy you, but anyhow, my point is she ruined her life. She's ruined her life with this one.
Well, but yes, I mean, most likely. However, she didn't ruin it nearly as badly
as a felony.
Right,
yeah,
as if it had happened 24 hours earlier.
Exactly.
So that's why I'm saying it really does seem.
Oh, it does. She knew the risks.
Calculated.
Yep. She knew the risks. They both knew the risks. She got caught. She has to do the time. End of story. Freaky naughty teacher. Where were you when I was a kid? But hey, that's a whole nother story.
All right. This next one is just awful. It's just tragic. It's just terrible. So I'm going to tell you that much. 14-year-old girl electrocuted in the bathtub.
What?
Using her smartphone.
No way. Was she trying to do a selfie?
No. Much worse. She was using an frayed extension cord.
Oh, no.
To plug the phone in.
Oh, no.
And get this, it just keeps getting worse.
Oh, no.
Check this out. The last message that she sent. This is awful. Social media, let's see, blah, blah, blah. It's a picture of the frayed cord.
Oh, no.
And the text is, when you use an extension cord so you can plug your phone in while you're in the bath. And she showed the frayed cord.
Oh, you're kidding me.
In a picture.
Oh, this poor girl, not knowing any better, she's only 14, obviously doesn't understand electricity and what can happen under certain horrible circumstances, decides that, hey, I found the sprayed cord. I'm going to go ahead and use it. Now, this is my father, bless his soul, this is where he'd stand up and say, well, two things in this world kill every time, stupidity and speed.
That is so true. And they include in the article the picture of that was sent.
I'm looking at that picture. Here's the frayed cord I'm going to use to charge while I'm in the bathtub. In my bubbles, Mr. Bubble, Bubble, Bubble.
All she did was touch it.
That's it. That's all it takes.
If you're wet, if you're sitting in a tub.
That's right. That's all. Electricity is pretty fast. It's not like there's a 24-hour waiting period on it. It's
Or
right
warning.
now, you know. It's not like it warns you first. It's there, and it will shock the hell out of you.
That is sad, sad, sad.
That really is sad. What a young, bright young girl. I mean, she looks.
It just shows you anything that can happen will happen.
Yeah, and of course, you know, being 14, your mind is not on electricity. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know?
Oh, I know. I mean, but I think what it points out is there should be a little more or maybe a lot more emphasis on safety in the home. By 14 years old, you should know that an exposed wire.
Very true. You're right. When we were kids.
Plugged in and water, oh my. That is a combination to be wildly avoided.
I knew a guy that tried to kill himself by throwing a toaster in the bathtub of himself, but he had one of those ground fault outlets.
Thwarted. Curses foiled again.
Yeah. He's like, I ain't tried everything. I even tried the toaster, and it didn't kill me, damn it. And I said, well, maybe God's telling you a message to stop it. Maybe you're right. You're right.
My Lord, this next one, which is our last, is almost equally horrifying and tragic, though, I mean, it is. Only difference is she's a little older. Yeah. A French fitness model.
Yeah, she's cute. She was.
She was.
Smoking.
Not ugly.
No.
She died in a freak accident with a whipped cream dispenser.
How did that happen?
Oh, goodness. Rebecca Berger, who has more than 156,000 followers on Instagram, was killed when a defective whipped cream dispenser exploded and struck her in the chest.
What? So, okay.
She was 33.
So this whipped cream dispenser in her home, I'm assuming, or this happened at the supermarket. I'm not sure, but it explodes. It hits her in the chest. Thank you for the audio, Fox, by the way, ruining it so I can't read the article. Thank you so much. So
I hate those auto plays.
God, I hate them. But anyhow, this thing explodes, hits her in the chest. She dies. Did she die like from blunt force trauma or something?
No, she died ultimately of cardiac arrest.
Really? I suppose it hit her hard enough in the chest that it stopped her heart.
They're saying that this French manufacturer, there's thousands of these faulty cans still out there.
Just floating around, waiting to blow up and kill people.
Oh, this is just unbelievable. Let's see. The BBC reported on it. Let's see what they say about it. There she is again in a different picture. Yep, let's see. Domestic accident, obviously. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I guess it hit her so hard that it caused a heart attack.
See, now the French are missing a golden opportunity. They should ship all these defective cans to North Korea because we all know that little guy likes to eat. All right? We all know he likes to eat. It would be the perfect assassination plan. They'll never see it coming.
Oh, I see. It's a whippet dispenser.
What's a whippet dispenser?
Oh, you don't know what?
No, enlighten all of us that may not know.
Whippets were all the craze about, 30, 35 years ago. And what they are is simply the little capsule that contains the gas that is used to then dispense, to push the whipped cream out of the container. So you can buy your own unfilled container and just use it for dispensing the gas, which you would then inhale.
So why would you inhale this gas, pray tell?
Because it has a very short-term but very intense drug-like effect.
What? Have you ever? Okay, I'm not gonna ask you if you ever tried to whip it because obviously.
Well, sure, I did. It was illegal. Yeah, I did.
What was
I
that
did
like?
A couple of, awful. It's just super intense. Like it would be like almost passing out. So
Wow.
you're so dizzy
Not fun.
you almost pass out. Very
Damn.
intense sensation going through your body, like it may feel like a heart attack. So maybe that's part of what happened here.
You know what? That makes more sense now than just a can exploding. Because I'm thinking to myself, how would that little end or whatever part of the can have that much, and especially as good a shape she was in, give such a force to kill this poor lady?
So this was not, in other words, a commercial grocery store whipped cream can. This was
bought on the market.
Large bottle that you buy independently, and you screw in the injecting gas little metal container into that device. So this sounds a little shadier than it sounds like at first.
Yeah. Outside looking in, it sounded like a tragedy that maybe she bought some whipped cream, was hanging around the house, that blew up and killed her. Now that you bring the whip it part up, it sounds like maybe she was not exactly doing what she should be doing and ended up overdosing maybe and causing herself to go into cardiac arrest.
I mean, we don't know. But
speculating.
I don't. Yeah, it's just purely speculating. But again, this was not a regular can you'd buy in a store, in a grocery store. This is a dispenser that, at least in the old days, was actually primarily used. I mean, sure, you can use it to then dispense whatever you want.
Sure.
What you're doing is you're putting highly concentrated, high pressure gas into that can. That's what you're doing. So then that gas is going to push out whatever you want it to push out.
Gotcha.
But when you're using it as a whippet, it's
just the
you're
gas.
not pushing out anything.
Yeah.
You're inhaling the gas.
Well, wow, I'm not going to try those anytime soon, a whip it. I'm good.
I would not recommend that
no whip it
at
for me.
all.
But this story, now that we're kind of uncovering what may be involved, of course, all speculatory at this point, would seem that it's a little on the shady side.
It does sound shady to me. All right, before we run out of time, because we only have a couple minutes, I did want to mention there is a brand new all true crime channel, the Oxygen
you were saying
channel.
that. Yeah, Oxygen.
I'm looking at it right now. They have a new logo, new site, new absolutely 100% new lineup of shows. They have dispensed. They are no longer a kind of generic women's channel. It is now all about true crime.
Very cool, though. I'm going to have to check that out because it was like all women there for a long time. And now it's true crime. They might have some grittier shows that even ID Discovery has or something as good. But ID Discovery, man, they do it right, though. They've
been doing it for a while.
That'll be a tall order to topple that one because they really do a fantastic job on their programming. In fact, I've gotten hooked on it. Since we started doing True Crime Wednesday, oh, man, I'm all over that channel. I'm watching it going, wow, man, that's crazy. How'd that happen? How'd that person kill that person? Why did they kill that person? Great programming, and they give us a lot of our awesome celebrities to talk to. Like tonight, we were talking with Garry McFadden, and he has a show, I Am Homicide, over there every Tuesday night. You can check it out. It's a whole lot of fun, and you're not going to want to miss it. And he is really, at the top of the hour, he'll be joining us, and just a really nice guy. When we talked to him pre-show and kind of got to feel who he was, really genuine, and that really struck a chord with Eric and I.
Absolutely. 100% recommend it. You're going to really love it. Stick around for it. One more just super quick thing here. We were talking about the Minnesota shooting, right?
Yeah. Yep.
I'm seeing a headline here on Oxygen. Cop was startled by loud sound right before shooting yoga teacher.
What sound, though? They're going to have to investigate that further. I'm going to be waiting and seeing what happens. I know that the investigators, as in the news, when they do come up with something, they're going to call us right away. They're going to give us all a call, give the show a call so we can maybe break that story before anyone else can.
Excellent.
So we'll get that going. But we're going to go to break. When we come back, Mr. Garry McFadden is going to join us. Don't go anywhere. You're really going to love this interview. I know we're looking forward to talking with him. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back right after this. Anavar Media LCC is a dedicated team of professionals committed to helping business development scale and protect their websites, mobile applications, enterprise software solutions in the Northeast Ohio area. Locally owned since 2012, our client-centered values truly sets Anavar apart. Contact us today to learn how you can get 25% off your first project. Call them at 234-380-4852. Again, that's 234-380-4852, or visit them at www.anavar.com. Again, that's www.anavar.com. Hey, you listen to After Hours AM, and if you're listening to us via podcast, make sure you like us, follow us, review us, tell your friends about us, tell grandma about us, and keep listening. Welcome back to After Hours AM, everybody. I'm Joel Sturgis, and right along with me,
Eric Olsen and
Dr. Clarissa Cole.
And man, we have a great guest tonight. We've been waiting to talk to him forever. I love this guy. I love his work. Love the show. Eric, who are we talking to?
Season 2 of I Am Homicide premiered June 6th and runs on Tuesdays at 10, 9 Central on Investigation Discovery. Now retired Charlotte Mecklenburg County Detective Garry McFadden is an officer unlike any other. As one of America's most dedicated detectives, his familiarity with every street corner in town has enabled him to protect and serve the community to which he has devoted his life. He uses his street smarts and, most importantly, his relationships within the community to forge a deep connection that goes beyond the search for the perpetrator. His dedication to the pursuit of justice is equally as important as the lives of the families he has vowed to protect, as if they were his own, all the while wearing the best suits in town.
I saw that. He's a dresser.
Over his, that's a suit. Over his career, McFadden has solved nearly 700 homicide cases with a 90% success rate with investigations he pursues. In 10 all-new episodes, viewers witness his most memorable and diabolical cases, from his run-in with a local white supremacist that resulted in a cross-country manhunt to a harrowing murder in which the only witness was a 3-year-old child. Welcome to the program, Garry McFadden.
Thank you all so much. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for coming on, Garry. I have really looked forward to talking with you, and because I've watched the show several times, and wow, you are one hell of a detective, my friend.
Well, I owe it all to the people that work with me on the streets. Some people call them snitches. I call them confidential, reliable informants. And so I enjoy what I do. I didn't take it lightly, and fortunately and unfortunately, I'm still running around in the streets, so I'm having fun now.
Well, that's what matters. Now, you get to retire now and have fun, and then do shows like this where we all get to learn the finer points of being a detective, what's really like to be a detective out there.
Well, it is. And, I have to go back. I retired in 2011, but my department rehired me 30 days after I retired, so I'm technically still a detective and technically still working for my department. I am consulting with other departments and still working, and absolutely get a phone call from somebody every week about a murder case.
Wow, Garry, they loved you so much they couldn't stand not to have you at the department.
Couldn't let you go.
They couldn't let you know. They know greatness when they see it.
I don't know. I think they're just getting more of me for less money. That's what I think.
Well, there could be that too. There really
probably
could
all
be
about the benefits, right?
It's all about the benefits. It's all about the benefits.
Yeah. Well,
but I do enjoy the show. The show has really been good. I'm hoping that I'm helping people look at a different side of law enforcement and how they view law enforcement. And because of my dress and style, I wanted to be different from day one.
Sure.
So that was something that captivated the people of my suits. And so I'm now into the socks and the shoes. So I enjoy that part of it.
I love the pinstripe suit and stuff like that. I mean, you just look different. You dress like a 1930s detective. In fact, one of the guys that I've done radio with, he's an old timer, and he's reported on stuff, and he says, it seems to me that he's a throwback detective, is what he is.
I am.
He's that real hard-nosed, what they used to call just hard-nosed detective. And that's a compliment. Right. I mean, wow, I said, it is. That's really actually a compliment.
It is. I enjoy the professionalism of being a homicide detective, and that's why I hope my show would help, open that bridge and bridge that gap of we're not here just to do a job. We are a community servant, and if my style and my dress helps that, then I like it. At the end of my career, I started not wearing fedoras, but I did wear some nice hats, and because it was cold and my head is bald, and then I had a scarf around my neck, so that image when they saw me, the first couple of minutes is about my clothing. And so that gets me into a lot of homes, and that gets me to have a conversation, and then it move on to investigative work.
Okay, Gary, I just got to ask you this. How many times have people mistaken you for a pastor?
I couldn't tell you. I've never saved anybody or laid any hands on anybody, but I've knocked on a few doors, and they thought I was Jehovah's Witness or somebody else. So,
Hey, Gary, so, I have a new subtitle for your show, Free of Charge, The Dapper Detective.
I will take it free of charge, free of charge. But I do love the clothing and the suits. And, when I went to court, some judges actually talked about my clothing. And if you watched the episode a couple of weeks ago, one guy actually thought that I was his lawyer because of the way I was dressed. And so, I was smart. I let him talk, and I didn't ask any questions. I just let him run his mouth, and then at the end, he said, "So how are you going to get me out of this?" And I said, "Get you out of this?" I said, "I'm homicide, fool." And then he was like, what? And believe it or not, that was the crux of the trial of me portraying that I was his lawyer. But I never portrayed that I was his lawyer. I just walked into the room. Of course, I had a nice Italian suit on, and he just assumed that I was his lawyer, and he says, "So I need to talk to you." And I said, "Yes." That was probably the only time people said that I understood I had needed to be quiet. And it was very difficult, but I saw where he was going, and I let him take on the train. And so he was driving the bus.
Yeah. So, wow. You would have thought he would have asked that up front. Are you my lawyer?
No,
smart.
That is not in the criminal handbook. That's not in the criminal handbook.
Nobody asked that. I speak from experience on that, too. If I dress too nicely when I go to a prison, all the cops that work there think that I'm a lawyer.
Right.
So
you just kind of let them go with it. And if you don't ask a question, I'm not going to tell you. If it's to my advantage, I'm going to ride with it.
Heck yeah, I don't blame you there. I don't blame you at all. Yeah. And, of course, if somebody wants to bare their soul to you, that is entirely up to them.
I will take it. I will take every second.
So when the guy goes, "So are you my lawyer?" you say, "Yes, I am Mr. Miranda."
Yes, that's what I should have said.
Nice to meet
you. You ever heard of Miranda? Yes, that's part of it.
Well, we have a really special angle to our show, and that is the woman you just heard, and that's Dr. Clarissa Cole, and she is a forensic psychologist with the state of California penal system. So she really has a unique perspective, and I was very interested to hear her thoughts on your approach and your show, and I'm sure she has a question or two. Right, Clarissa?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I always like detectives that are a bit more throwback and that do go and talk to people. Like, what struck me about you is that it seems like you have a fairly good rapport with people when you go and talk to them.
Well, here's what most detectives don't understand, and Doctor, you have the degree in this. Here's what we don't. When we knock on their door, we love to say the police. People say, who is it? I said, it's Garry. When they open the door, well, Garry who? I'm Garry McFadden. And then I will come on, like, if it's raining, example, if it's raining, and this is psychology, if it's raining and it's a bad day, I'm going out to interview somebody. Why? Because to get into your house, I'm going to say, hey, it's raining. Can I come in for a minute? Can I come in? So when I come in and shake like a dog, and they said, okay, now who are you? You have already let me into your home. Then I'm inside the house. My conversation is, my first 3 minutes is never about why I am there. My first 3 minutes is this. What are you cooking? Or who's that on the wall? Ma'am, I'm going to find something in that room to start a conversation. And then I'm going to make that person gravitate towards me. When that person gravitates towards me, then I said, oh, and by the way, I'm Detective McFadden. I'm here to talk to your grandson. Now, is Junior here? When she said Junior upstairs, I have to win grandmother's confidence before Junior come downstairs. That's one approach. But then also approaches that I pride myself on, I am truthful. I'm always truthful. And even though that the suspect is a suspect, I'm not going to mistreat his family ever. When I get to court and we go into that trial, I'm going to say, ma'am, at some point, the lawyers are going to say not to talk to me, and that's what you need to do because that's what your lawyers say. But this day is a tough day for both of us, and nobody wins. At the end of that trial, guilty, because I only had one not guilty plea, I'm going to hug that family and say, you have a long road. I respect you, and if there's anything I can do for you, let me know. That's 100% honest. I do that. That's my life. Now, she is going to spill goodness in the community about me. No matter how bad I am and put her son in jail, she's going to say he's an honest guy. He's a heartfelt guy. And that pours into the community. But then we also have to think about our kids and what they are involved in every day. Gun violence, if you live in a neighborhood where there's gun violence every day, hearing gunshots and seeing somebody killed is nothing. And then you develop into this person that later on believes that violence is all right because violence happens in your house every day. So getting beat up or knocking somebody around or punching somebody at school is just part of my life. Why? Because like one guy said this week, I have been a prisoner since I've been 5 years old because I've been seeing violence since 5 years old. I'm 35 years old. Nothing has changed. Those are things that we need to look into, but I also understand that when I'm dealing with criminals. That's my bit.
Now, do you think, Garry, then that criminals are sometimes products of their environment because, like you just said, that's what they're exposed to so many years? And that being said, how do they, in your opinion, break that cycle and not become criminals? Or, I mean, what's the prevention program out there to stop that?
Well, the prevention program lies within the community and everybody who's involved in the community. Think about this, both ladies and gentlemen here. Every time you go to anytime we have a crisis in America, we're going to have a panel discussion and a forum, right? Mm-hmm. I guarantee you, if you start making a list, every time we have a panel discussion and a forum, it's the same people on that panel. It's the same talking heads. There's nobody different. There's nobody with different ideas or different avenues, and we rely on them only because of their status and who they say they are. We never go outside the box and look for different answers. Nobody understands Chicago violence right now because there's nothing different, and nobody's approaching it differently.
Yeah.
We're still going thinking we're going to do this. So we have to step back and say, okay, what is the problem? And here's what I tell people. Pro football teams are great because they study game film. We never study game film of the community and why this is continuing to happen. That's it. Once we study that and said, what do we really need to do? We really need to listen to the kids. We go to these events and we talk to all these kids, and you have the guest speaker, and he's done all of this, but we never take the time to say, what makes you tick? And I'm sure the doctor there knows that, because when she goes to prison to interview that guy, that is the very first time the guy says, let me tell you why I'm like this. Mm-hmm. And we sit down and say, wow. And then when she exposes that in court, by that time it's too late. It helps them to better understand, but at that time it's too late because he's committed a murder or a violent crime.
So do you think it's a massive disconnect is why? Because you mentioned game film and stuff. And I think that's everywhere. I think there's a big us and them in America and a big disconnect in the middle. How do we bridge that?
We have to be... go ahead. I'm sorry, Doctor. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I don't know. I mean, I agree that there is some sort of a disconnect, but I also think that it's kind of business as usual because this is the way business has always been done.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of people in my job that are more on the sociology end of things that have been studying communities and involved in communities and in communities for many, many years, and people like myself that have been telling various people in law enforcement, hey, we could do this differently and get better results. They don't care.
But because they don't honor a person like you in the community. And that's what I try to do with law enforcement, and that's what I hope my platform helps create. You know, ID and I Am Homicide is just an avenue or the road for me to be invited to your community. And then when I get there, they were like, oh, I thought you were going to talk about murder. No, we're going to talk about mental health. We're going to talk about what makes you tick. You know, if a kid who is selling drugs at 5 and 6 and 8 years old, and that's all the life that he sees, you know, he's going to commit the violent crimes. But we have to understand, and this is something that I say, Doctor, I hope you bear with me with this one. This is something I say now, that this is my 2017 quote for the year. And Doc, I know you're going to agree with me. It is hard to educate the educated. Yeah. It is hard to educate the educated because people in law enforcement believe that we are educated, but we will not allow more. We are not allowing to be educated more. I don't care if you went to the FBI school. That's a great start. But when you have a person like the doctor, and why I like that, because I like forensic psychologists to say, okay, what makes this guy tick?
Yeah.
You know, if you say, what really made Ted Bundy tick? What really got him off? You know, what really happened? Once we understand that, then maybe we can recognize that person in the neighborhood who's also like that. Mm-hmm. You know, when this child is acting out at an early age, he's not cute. You know, one kid I asked a year ago, why are you so violent? He was 8 years old. He said, you know what he said to me? Everybody in my house is violent. Oh. So I need to operate on this level to survive.
Yeah. Now, it makes sense because, again, it's environment impacting action. Right. Go ahead, sir.
Right. When he goes to school, he believes that is still the way that he needs to operate. So that's why I said my show is wonderful. I show all the stuff that goes on in there to say, hey, you know, we may get something out of this.
Yeah.
And so it's a platform. It's a platform, but it's something that we need to deal with in America.
And I respect that immensely, Gary. I really do, because you're not seeking, you know, quote unquote, through the show just fame. You're looking to make a difference, and that's something that might be lacking in some facets, and it's kind of refreshing to hear.
Right. You know, the first time I was invited to the White House, we created this thing in the neighborhood. A friend of mine, who I'm going to talk to after I finish talking to you, his name is Sean Corbett. Sean Corbett was a 3-time convicted felon drug dealer, but he walks up to me we got together. He didn't walk up to me. Somebody put us together, and he said, let's start something new. Let's start an organization called Cops and Barbers. You got I Am Homicide. I Am Homicide is wonderful. That's the avenue. So we started Cops and Barbers. Cops and Barbers is a community initiative to bridge the gap between the communities of color and law enforcement. Now, why barbershops? There's a barbershop in every community across America. It's the hub of information.
True.
And guess what? If we can get some information out of the barbershop into the community, it'll be a great thing. And so 5 months after we created it, we were standing in the White House doing a presentation to 200 law enforcement members across America. Yeah. And so it took off. It went well, but then people say, I have my own ideas. So when we have I Am Homicide, it's just a platform from America and to hear me talk. If you invite me in, I'm coming in to help you. But it is a wonderful show. I love people to watch it. It comes on tonight at 10, you know, ID Discovery. But then it's a part of my platform of what I want to create in America.
Well, Gary, and correct me if I'm totally off base here, and tell me your thoughts. It would seem, and we've talked about this, it seems to be an overrunning theme on this show, After Hours AM, the criminal code, that we as a society are more interested in incarceration than rehabilitation.
Correct.
How do we get, in your opinion, past that thinking of throw away the key, throw this life away? How do we get, in your opinion, how do we get past that as a society?
We have to honor the people who go into prison. The people who go into prison are going to go. They're going to put people in prison. But how do we rehabilitate them after coming out of prison? And how do we stop them from going to prison? And how are we going to eliminate the prison flow? Now, if you look at Chicago, Chicago is about to do something, not putting Chicago on the map, but Chicago is saying we're going to bring in the Fed, we're going to do gun control, we're going to do, gun violence. Yeah, they're going to be arresting people by the dozen because that's an easy shooting fish in the barrel. But we're not thinking, we're not changing the thought process.
Yeah.
Of why are you pulling that trigger? Why are you carrying that gun? Why can't we talk about the process before getting involved in the criminal justice system?
Sure.
And what happens is we deal with emotions. We deal with nothing but emotions. When it happens, we're emotional about it. And we are emotional driven. And I have this thing that says we're having leaders who are driving intoxicated with drama. And then once we are driving intoxicated with drama, we are driving you to these events that is just only drama. And we can't get the fact of listening to someone say, okay, it's not sending everybody to prison is the answer, because that's an easy thing. To send somebody to jail is an easy thing. It's easy.
It really
is. It is the easy thing, and it's also harder to get that stuff going in prisons too in a meaningful way. There's some rehabilitation in prison, but how much of it is geared at them getting out? And, it's geared toward keeping the prison safe, but not toward a successful life on the outside half the time.
No, I have 4 young men. I tell you exactly. And I first I want to thank you all for honoring me and having me here on the show. That is
our pleasure, sir.
I'm honored. Pleasure. I'm honored about it, and hope that we can talk again. A prime example is they wanted me to go. I call them the talking heads, or the talking heads at the table. Because of my platform, because I'm very active in the community, because I'm nationally, internationally known, and all that other good stuff. Now, they expect me to come to all these panel discussions. I'm not going. But I do like to go to them. So they had this nice panel discussion the other day, and I sent a guy who I know very well, who got out of prison after serving 20 years for shooting a kid and orchestrating a murder because he was in a gang. When that guy finished talking, everybody was absolutely amazed at who he was. And so he was the difference in it. He says, as 5 years old, I've been captured in my mind as a prisoner since 5 years old, and that's where I get that from.
Yeah.
And they said, how can you be? I'm in a neighborhood where they say federal funding came in. They said money came in. They said we have community resources and we do all this cutting the ribbon and we have everybody kissing the baby and we have all the politicians out, but we never saw the funding. So I have been a prisoner of this violence since I have been 5 years old. So in my mind, I have been a prisoner, and only when I turned 22 that I became a physical prisoner in jail. But after I became a physical prisoner in jail and sat there for 22 years, was it really rehabilitation or just confinement and the same, do this, do that, do this, do that? But where are the programs to go into the prison and really find out where you are in your mind and deal with that? So, okay, he's a level 1, he's a level 2, he's a level 3, because at some point they're going to come out.
Yeah.
And are we ready to face that?
Well, most people aren't. I feel like most people are not wanting to think about that. But I mean, the vast majority of men and women that go into prison leave prison. So we have to be ready for that.
Right. So we have a lot of work to do, but we need to have the right people working at it. And
I think the narrative,
I'm hoping,
Gary, I think the narrative also has to be changed in a big way. More than just working at it, but changing minds.
It is, because y'all can tell I can talk all day about this, because this is my passion. This is my passion. We all talk about the elephant in the room. Okay, what is the elephant in the room? The elephant in the room is African Americans versus law enforcement. That's the elephant in the room. Okay, we got that. But there are many animals also in that room running wild that we never talk about. And these are the things that we have to change. Okay, we got that. I got it. We need to work on that. find 1,500 people to work on that committee and get that elephant and eat that elephant out of the room. Okay, but let's talk about the other animals in the room also that we need to talk about. And let's see what these animals are doing, and then we'll find out we got a whole lot of problems. That's how you change the narrative. You have to change that. And then until we change that, we're going to still go on with the same narrative that we have today.
You know, I asked a really high-ranking official in the criminal justice system for the Department of Justice. I had him on the show years ago, and I thought I asked him, I said, why do you want to lock everyone up? Why does it seem like everyone's getting locked up and not being rehabilitated? And he told me this. It's a business. The more prisoners we have, the more money is going on. And that's part of the problem. Now, he also cited private prisons are a horrible thing and should not exist. And he cited again, it's a business opportunity for people that don't care. And they're using our fear against us to lock people up. Is that true, Gary, or do you think he was kind of off on that one?
The prisons make some money. There are some people going to prison to make some money. I don't know if I can say that it is geared towards let's continue to make this business go. I don't know that, because people are committing crimes out here that probably need to go to prison.
Oh, absolutely.
And so, it's one of these conversations. Says, well, let's talk about it. Let's debate about it. Let's have a discussion about it.
Well,
but then we have to have a solution also for it too.
Yeah,
and that's what we hate. We don't want solutions. We love to talk about it, but we don't want solutions.
Well, it's like they catch the 19-year-old kid with a dime bag of pot, and he does 5 years, right? Just to show that, because the prosecutor wants to be tough on crime. How is that helping?
That's not tough on time. That's a case where, he gets a dime bag. Why does he have to sell his dime bag? Are there resources in the neighborhood so he won't have to sell dime bags? Are there mentoring groups and organizations pouring into this kid's life to say, let's change it? I was speaking at a high school just before high school was out. I can tell you 100% for a fact that I changed a kid's life that day, because I said, what's stopping you from being successful? You know what he said? $65. And I said, how is $65 stopping you from being successful? He says, I want to get a job. The only job that I know that will hire me right now is the local car wash. We have this business called Autobell, which got probably 15 car washes throughout the city.
Sure.
So they'll hire all the kids for the summer. He doesn't have a driver's license. So if he takes driver's ed for $65 and finishes it by July 3rd, he can get the job. So $65 stood in his way.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I went out and gave this kid a money order, put Jordan Driving School, and gave it to him. But when I went to the back of that business where he was working at this chicken joint here in Charlotte, he was throwing out boxes. So I pull up, and I said, Zari, hey, man, what's going on? He looked at me like, what you doing here? I said, you told me you need $65. And I gave it to him. That kid hugged me. He was like, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. So guess what? If I keep up with that kid, I won't have to worry about that kid just, being a violent kid, because now I'm connected to him, and I'm going to keep up with him, and I'm going to pour into his life. So you know what I'm going to do with Zai during August? Hey, man, what do you need for school? Yeah. I'm going to buy you that book bag. I'm going to buy you that stuff. And then we are going to connect. When he's with his boys, he's going to say, oh, that's Detective McFadden from I Am Homicide. Guess what? Now I'm going to be back as I Am Homicide. I'm going to go to his event as I Am Homicide. I'm going to his basketball game and sign autographs as I Am Homicide, because that's going to be how I get into his school. They're going to invite me back again because I have a TV show called I Am Homicide. And then that's what I need that platform for.
Gary, man, that powerful stuff. Eric, man, I what do you think? I mean,
I am listening, and I feel like it is a balm coming over my raw sensibilities regarding where we are in the nation. I had a question that came up in my mind just recently. As you guys were just talking now, it backs up a little bit. Gary, what do you think it is about? Because it seems to be fairly peculiarly American. Why do you think we have this kind of general mentality that it's about punishment and it's about isolation of lawbreakers, rather than taking the perspective, hey, it's actually in our collective best interest if we do rehabilitate, if we do not view the criminal justice system as being primarily about punitive, about retribution, about punishment. What do you think there is about the American psyche, if in fact it is that leads us to really kind of cut off our nose to spite our face in terms of how we treat, convicted criminals?
Because it's the easy way out. It's the quickest way out. It's the easy way out. I get it off my table. I am done with it, and I'm moving numbers. And that's what the short version, because it's an easy way out. We don't want to take the research and say, what is really the problem? How can we better this? Can we fund a better program to see better results? But that may take some time and work, and then it shows America that we're not as smart as that we think that we are. To say, why can't we find a remedy for the violence in the community across America? Because the easy thing is, okay, he commit this crime, throw him away.
Yeah.
Put him in jail. And then if I don't see him, then I don't have to worry about him. But when this kid comes back to me, now think about this. When this kid comes back to me in the middle of the year saying he needs this, oh my God, I've created something now I got to really pour my time and effort into. I know that. Yeah. Because I have these kids out here like that. So that means I have to be committed to this kid. We're not committed to this cause. Bring in the troops, wipe it all out. Bring in the law, put them away. Guess what? I'm done. I get an award for it, but nobody gets that award for that 100 work percentage that you have to just pour and pour and pour into, because it's an easy fix.
Yeah, it's out of sight, out of mind. Yeah.
Right. I'm done with it, and I resolved the problem. But that problem is coming back 20 years later. He's coming out of prison, prison is teaching him more. But these kids learn more in prison than they learn on the streets. There are some of the unbelievable geniuses behind the walls. If you look at the art, you look at the culture, you look at what they do inside the prison, you look at how they survive in prison on things that they design and make up. Imagine if we take that energy and knowledge and tunnel it in the right direction. It'll scare some people.
It really would. It really would. And I agree with you 100%, man. I mean, I love what you're saying because I've got the same feelings. I know Clarissa does. I know Eric does. Something has to give. We're going to run a break, everyone. Take a water break. We're talking a lot right here. It's in the middle of summer, so we'll be right back right after this with more Mr. Garry McFadden. Don't go anywhere.
No record, baby, on my heart. Tell it like it is. I can't shake you, baby, from my thoughts. Pictures on my fridge, and I've been winding up the wax records, playing them for the kids. The old songs light up in the dark. I like the way you make me scratch my chin. You're holding out your arm.
This is Jen McGowan, founder of Wayward Souls Promotions, a company dedicated to helping individuals, teams, radio shows, and others that are seeking exposure for their individual events, conventions, and shows. We offer a wide variety of advertising, such as web-based article, social media posts, podcast advertisement, and so on. Contact us at paranormalpromotion@gmail.com, visit us on Facebook at Wayward Souls Promotions, and visit our website at www.waywardsoulspromotions.com.
Author Steve Asher brings us Hauntings of Trilogy. Steve's first book, Hauntings of the Kentucky State Penitentiary. This first installment of the trilogy tells us the tale of the Kentucky State Penitentiary and why it's so haunted. With every turn of the page will be something new and terrifying. Pick up Steve's new book, Hauntings of the Kentucky State Penitentiary, at Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, and all better bookstores everywhere. Anna Anavar Media LCC is a dedicated team of professionals committed to helping business development scale and protect their websites, mobile applications, enterprise software solutions in the Northeast Ohio area. Locally owned since 2012, our client-centered values truly sets Anavar apart. Contact us today to learn how you can get 25% off your first project. Call them at 234-380-4852. Again, that's 234-380-4852, or visit them at www.anavar.com. Again, that's www.anavar.com. If you're listening to After Hours AM, do you have a question for the guests or even the host? That's really easy. Go ahead and email those questions to afterhoursam@gmail.com. Are you feeling like picking up the phone and being part of the show? Call us at 612-326-6874, 612-326-6874. Come be part of the madness.
I ate his liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti.
Well, I got an old radio song. It's been rolling around in my head. I've been waiting on you, but I better not hold my breath. And I got told that it wouldn't take long, but I've been waiting here ever since. I've been waiting on you, but I better not hold my breath. And I love the beauty and the mess we've made.
And welcome back to After Hours AM, everybody. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis. Right along with me,
Eric Olsen and
Dr. Clarissa Cole.
the three amigos of true crime. And tonight we are having the honor and privilege of talking to Detective Garry McFadden from the breakout hit over there, ID Discovery, I Am Homicide. Great stuff. And also, Garry, you kind of took me back. You know, we really haven't talked a whole lot about the show. It's been more about the issues you're tackling using the show as the vehicle to get further into homes, to get further into where you want to go. And I got to say, man, I really find that to be honorable and refreshing. I know my other two colleagues do as well. And so big kudos,
thank you all.
man. Big kudos for you to doing that, because I don't think enough like that is being done. When we were on break, I asked you if you would be comfortable speaking on the current climate with law enforcement and citizens. And as everyone listening to the show knows, that we have here, I'm currently in Minnesota, and we have had two big cases. We had the Fernando Castile case, and then we just, within the last 2 days, had another case of police shootings. A lot of people now, I'm going to speak for the climate in this state. A lot of people are starting now, Garry, to view the law enforcement community in this state. Now, this is the murmuring I've been told, people emailing me, talking to me, as the enemy, not the ally.
Right.
And that's a big problem, you know, so if you want to speak on that.
It is a big problem, and I think that law enforcement do attempt to do a great job. The community do attempt to do a great job, but these two people need somebody in the middle to help them do a better job. Now, I'm not going to sell myself, but I am. This is what I do, and hopefully that I'm going to continue to do across the country if I'm called. You know, I would love to come to Minnesota, because before Fernando Castile case is rest and settle, now you have another case.
Yep.
What are we doing in the communities, law enforcement and the communities, to better bridge that gap of perception?
Yep.
And the perception is we're going to shoot. And the community said we're not going to get justice. We're going to shoot. We're not going to get justice. So then they're saying accountability. Other people are saying transparency. So then here's what I asked the protesters in Charlotte when we were having this 2.5-hour argument in the street. They came to our police department knocking on the windows and said they want justice. They want this and that. They want this and that. None of us exited the building. Just so happened I just came back from another city that day, and I was walking in the building. I walked out the front door, and I said, do you know justice when you see it? Or do you know how to get justice?
Mm-hmm.
Now, that sounds harsh, but here's what I tell them. Work with me. You know, bringing out the summer fun bouncies and having the hot dogs and the police coming out in uniform and showing off the helicopters and showing off the tanks and showing off, the mobile device. That's cool and that's great. But where do you show the human side of the law enforcement officer?
Exactly.
And how do you reach that? And here's how I say that you reach it. And I know I'm getting on a tangent here. Is there an issue between African Americans and law enforcement officers? America would say yes.
Yeah.
But then do you have officers being killed also? We say yes. But is anybody saying, let's all get together and let's talk about what hurts you and what hurts me, and let's see where we can come to an agreement on, let's better that. We have to put us in a room together, and I tell everybody, the first 3 meetings will never go good. You know why? Because you never gave me a platform to voice my opinion. So that's the community. And guess what? Law enforcement is going to show up to these communities. Look at how they show up in their community. We are present, but we don't give our opinions because we are scared to speak out, and we're scared to talk about the things that bothers us in our community. Both sides have to have that platform to talk. Once you pass 3 or 4 meetings, then you can start talking about how to come together to better understand why things go bad. Now, shouldn't there be a class on what you should do? Now, people say, we know your rights. I know everybody said we know our rights and all that kind of stuff. But imagine what we have done in Charlotte and what we've done. We have had classes where we go to high schools and absolutely show kids what you should do and not do on traffic stops, and how you should. And then here's what makes a traffic stop go from 1 to 10. Now, is that going to work across the board? No, but it will decrease the shootings and events of officer-involved shootings. But then you have to understand that we're still going to have them. The Castro shooting is a bad shooting where people they're going to say, well, okay, I don't understand that. And then the young lady who was just killed in Minnesota, we're not going to understand that. Yeah. But we're going to have to come together at some point and discuss these 2 cases.
Well, Gary,
openly and honestly.
I was talking to a good friend of mine, happens to be a deputy sheriff where I live, and we were talking about all this going on. And great friend, went to high school with him, great guy, good friend. I don't even view him as a police officer; he's my buddy. And I asked him, "How do you feel about this?" And he honestly looked at me with almost fear in his eyes, saying, "It's just a matter of time before society pushes back." And maybe we've forgotten who allows us to wear this badge.
And that's where we're headed.
We're
headed to these conversations, and here's what I want to try to help people to understand. You have to build bridges in the community, and I think we look at the young man who was down in Louisiana. He's on a street corner selling CDs for 2 years, right?
Yep.
And he was shot and killed. I say that we in law enforcement, I may get some pushback, but I think I got 37 years in, so I can speak for myself. Somebody should have built a relationship with him, watching him stand on that corner for 2 years.
Yeah.
Where you build that relationship, where when you go to approach him, you almost on first name basis.
Yeah.
And he doesn't fear you, and you don't fear him. And what do you do on these traffic stops? The Castro. We have to look at that. I think that case is going to go for a while, because here's what I tell people: you have to analyze what happened in that case, and sit back and say, this is what went wrong, this is what went bad, this is what went right. Let's be honest and let's talk about it. And we have to get away from. We don't have to get away from it, but we have to make people understand why law enforcement say, I fear for my life.
Well, Gary, though, there's a real. Being a radio host, we hear all opinions, whether we want to or not. Everyone feels comfortable to talk to us. We have millions of listeners, so they feel that, we're buds, so they feel that they could talk to us freely, which is a beautiful thing. I love that part of the job. But the feeling now in society is, judging by the microcosm that we've heard from, they don't believe that the police are held to the same standard, that they seem to get away with murder. That is the exact words used by several people. Number 2, that if it does happen, it's always somehow the victim's fault in this matter. And I'm just trying to wrap my head around everything. And man, I really appreciate all your input. Go ahead, sir.
Right. And here's what we have to do. If we say that in law enforcement and they say that, then let me explain why. Let me explain why, if that's the case. And see, I think we don't do a good explanation of why. Here in Charlotte, our pat us on the back. We have done a great job. We listened to some people. We had a young man, sadly, responding to a fellow officer's, backup, and he's driving down the street well over the speed limit, and he hit and killed a pedestrian. Now, he's under the uniform code of law enforcement. He's in law enforcement capacity. He's responding to a call. He's not breaking, he's not doing anything, but responding, driving at a high rate of speed to a call. He hits and kills a pedestrian. We had to charge him last week with hitting and killing that pedestrian.
Yeah.
And so when it takes explanation. When we want clarity and we want understanding, it takes training. Maybe they need to look at our training. Maybe understand our policies and procedures. Maybe understand a little bit more. Not saying that it'll make anything better, but it'll give you a better understanding, and it'll give us some clarity, and it'll give us something to work from. And do we know it all in law enforcement? No.
Exactly. And I love the way, I don't mean to interrupt. I just want to tell you, I really appreciate the way that you're so approachable and the way that you come across and your experience and your that throwback. I remember when I was a kid, we had a beat cop. I knew him. His name was Dan. Hey, Dan, how you doing? And he would stop and throw the ball a little bit, BS with you. How's school? What's going on? Kind of feeling how the community is to the youth. You don't see that no more, Gary. You do not see that connection anymore. What?
Think about this. Dan could never pull the trigger on you.
No. We loved each other. We're buds.
And so that's what I'm trying to get these communities and agencies to understand. And I mean, I have people, this is no joke, gentlemen. When I approach agencies, I send them the whole thing that I'm going to do, of how I'm going to tackle this. Is the community 100% right? No. Is the police department 100% right? No. Is the community 100% wrong? No. Is the police department 100% wrong? No. Well, guess what? When we get together in these meetings and these things, I tell people, let me come to your community for 3 days. I went to Waterloo, Iowa, changed their thinking in 3 days.
Yep.
Went to another city, changed their thinking in 3 days. But you have to say, I'm going to go with this because nothing else is working. And then when you have these meetings and these forums and these, see, here's what we also don't value. You and your hosts here are what I call leaders of the community, but you are classified as untraditional leaders.
Sure.
People in the community, every community meeting you see will be outstanding black, white community members on that panel. The people they're going to have in the audience are going to be people who they have called to come to the meeting. But where are the people who are going to bust out your windows, who are going to break in your house, who's going to carjack you, who's going to do all these things? Why haven't you invited them to the meeting?
Yeah.
And when you get them to the meeting and give them a sense of something to do, they change. Back to my show. Back to I Am Homicide.
Yeah.
I'm standing in a convenience store. I'm standing in the store, buying my wife a gift and buying me a gift. I'm homicide, standing in the store. A guy walks up to me. I know he's into something because I have seen him before but don't know where. Probably dealing some illegal activities, but I don't know how. But I can tell because the way he's talking to me, and he's kind of embarrassed a little bit. But he's like, man, I Am Homicide. I was like, yeah. Oh, my God, I am starstruck. He wants to take pictures. I sign an autograph. We chit-chat for a minute, man. I love you. I love you. I love you. Here's my phone number, right? I want you to call me. He's amazed. I Am Homicide. Tuesday nights, 10 o'clock. I want you to watch my show, right? He watches my show. He calls me the next day. He says, man, this is terrific. I said, now I need you to help me. I don't know what you're doing. I don't know what's going on in your life. I don't know who you are. But I can assume by some of the things you said, what you said, and how you. He said, yeah. Okay. Easter egg hunt in your front yard for all the neighborhood kids. Plastic Easter egg, put dollar bills in them, have 2 Easter egg with 5, 2 Easter eggs with 10, 1 Easter egg with 50. Put them in your yard. Invite the neighborhood kids into your yard. Have an Easter egg hunt. Invite the police down. Have them block the street off. They don't like you. I know that. But ask them, can they block the street off for 10 minutes?
Yeah. Wow.
He did.
Yeah.
It changed the officer's outlook on him. It changed his outlook on the officers. He thanked the officers. The officer thanked him. And he told the officers, hey, man, I'm going to need y'all for 4th of July. This is why I'm saying that. I need y'all for 4th of July. Now, 4th of July was my show didn't come on for the 4th. So I called him, said, you can't see I Am Homicide today, but 4th of July is on, but you can see my marathon, right? Expose the kids to my show, but I want you to go out and shoot fireworks later on and tell the police, look, there's going to be fireworks in the neighborhood. I'm shooting fireworks. Can y'all give me a few minutes? Police officer calls back to headquarters, said Maurice is going to shoot fire at headquarters. I know he's going to be shooting fireworks in the neighborhood, but I'm out with the call.
Yeah.
Fireworks goes off. Police officer standing there looking in the sky. He's teary-eyed. Maurice is emotional. The kids hugging him and the police. I didn't spend no money. Maurice maybe spent $100.
Yeah.
I have just built community service between Maurice and his
just about
office.
to say, you were community building right there. You were building understanding between them.
What committee have I put together? What financial backing do I have? And what program that we needed to vet? Did we have to go on a retreat? Did we have to find some special funding? No. I found Maurice, who loved my show, I Am Homicide. I took that vehicle, put it in his life. Now he's telling me, he says, dude, the police officer is driving me crazy. And he said, well, now he wants me to talk to the guys up at the car wash. Do I need to go up there to the car wash? Yeah, you need to go to the car wash. You need to I will come up to the car wash and sign all autographs. Guess what? My show promotes goodness. I Am Homicide promotes goodness. Then I take that vehicle and we build a better relationship in America. What did it cost? Nothing. That's what we need to do to help bridge that gap. But we stand by and said, fold our arms, we did everything right, they did everything right, this and that. We're not going to change it. We're not going to change it.
You are amazingly proactive, and if everyone was, both people who have such a large forum such as yourself, and congratulations for that, because that's built on the back of your career and your idealism. But if everyone did that at their own level, then we wouldn't be talking about these issues really at all. We'd be beyond them. We would essentially solve the problem.
That is what I'm saying. If you look at my other part, it's called Cops and Barbers. Cops and Barbers was invented, and then I Am Homicide took it on. But then I showed them every barber, all of you all at some point got your hair cut, right? I'm sure.
Well, I'm bald,
right?
so yeah. Yeah, I have. Yes.
Well, you're bald. but think of how much you love your barber. And doctor, I know that you have a beautiful hairstyle. Think of how much you love your stylist, and how you talk to them every day about all your problems, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And these are people. These are our community non-traditional leaders that we never tap into to help us solve the problems across America.
Yeah.
But we don't tap into that because it is hard to educate the educated.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a big thing.
Hey, Gary, before we run out of time, because we're down to our last 10 minutes, which is hard to believe, love to get your thoughts on the show specifically. Do you have a kind of a favorite episode or an episode that represents your style that you could kind of relate to us, just to give people who haven't watched the show yet an example of what you do on the show and to entice them to join in with the rest of America?
You have to watch the show because I'm like this all the time, because you can tell as talking to me, then I go into Garyisms. I say stuff like, I love this, like fat kid love cake. They wouldn't let me say one on TV. I have to ask the question. It's like asking a nun the question, why you got the hickey on your neck. You got to know why. And so those are things that I say because they just spin off of my head. And I'm in the middle of the show. And last week, I think I said I was in this neighborhood that was all white at a trailer park, and I was trying to solve a murder. Mm-hmm. Of course, they're not talking to me because I'm black, and I'm in the trailer park, and they wonder why I'm here. So I said I felt like a pimp trying to sell Playboy at a revival. And so those are things that I say, but most of the episodes are just crazy. Mm-hmm. Like the one that I think I like most is me and this little girl started off at 7 years old. And I said to her, that I will be your friend, or I'll be like your daddy because her father was killed. But all of them are my favorite episodes because it brings out differency. You know, one bring out that I'm a person who loves suits. The next one, I brought out that I'm a people person, and me and this little girl stayed in each other's lives until she was 20-some, and I walk her down the aisle as her father. So we kept together from seventh grade up until now. Tonight's episode is about a guy who was trying to dispose of his wife, and she's rolled up in a carpet, but he goes to the liquor store and gets arrested. So how do you get the dead body out of your house?
Wow.
I think another episode is where I'm chasing a guy across America, and he's a member of an organization that has 3 letters that all are the same letters. And so
Gotcha.
I call the guy up, and over the phone, he recognized that my voice was not of his heritage, and we had a conversation. And so I called up a white supremacist group and had a conversation with him. And I told them either they caught this guy up or I was going to continue to call. And they thought that I was crazy, but I continued to call. And so me and this guy who do not see the same views on race relations all came to an agreement that we all want the same thing. He wants me to stop calling, and I want to stop calling him. So give me my information, and we both get what we want. And and he did. And I found the guy. So those are what my show is about. You know, some craziness and people that I thought that was the suspect and people who helped me in the beginning turned out to be the suspect. So that's what kind of my show is about.
Very good stuff, though.
All of my favorite episodes. In one of the last couple of episodes, if you didn't watch the beginning of my season, then you would miss it. A guy who really helped me solve a case in the beginning of the season became a suspect in one of my other cases. And then all of a sudden, I got to make sure that he's not the suspect in my first case. Because it makes me think, oh, wait a minute now, you could be. So I had to revert back to him so the case is kind of crisscrossed. And I got 2 or 3 episodes like where the case is crisscrossed. Sure. So then, of course, you have to watch the show to make sure that I don't wear the same suit. Because hopefully that ID will continue to hire me and I buy most suits. And so you will never see me with the same suit on.
Sure.
So we're hoping that is also a good thing to watch for.
Man, I got to say, I love the show. Love what you're doing even more in the communities. You know, the show is great, but really talking to you now and getting the man behind the show, I'm even more impressed now than when we began this interview. That,
well, you know what?
You are truly invested in your community.
Every week, I know I change somebody's life by watching my show. And that's what I want to strive. If you watch my show, I will change your life. And you know how I know this? Because Friday, a guy reached out to me on the internet. If anybody wants to, email me, my email is very simple. It's I AM HOMICIDE on ID@gmail.com. So you put I AM HOMICIDE on ID.com. At gmail.com. So this guy emails me, man. He said, I love my show and I love your show. And, man, you're really funny and you're a great guy. And I said this. I said, yeah, man, I went to your Facebook, so I know who I'm talking to. Not to say anything derogatory about him. I said, yeah, man, I want to know who emailing me. I want to find out what city you're in and what you're about and everything. And I went to email, and I emailed him back and forth, and then we got on Instagram or Insta message, so we were back and forth while I was waiting for my wife. He watched my show religiously.
Man,
in the middle of my conversation, he said, go to my webpage again and look at my webpage and see if you see anything different.
Yeah.
On his webpage, he had a flag.
Uh-huh.
When I went back to that webpage, he didn't have a flag.
That's powerful. That really is man.
He says, it is my heritage. I said, I know it's your heritage. But he says, I don't want it to defend you because I like you. Mm-hmm. And I said, Jeff, well, whatever his name, I'd say, Jeff, I like you too. And, I hope you stay in touch. Tell the wife, I said, hi, if you go out and kill something and want to send me some venison, you can overnight. We had that conversation, but he went to his website and took down a flag only because he saw my show. And he had a connection with me. So he has to say, I connected with this guy because of his show.
And what an unexpected byproduct of the show, though. I mean, you're bringing people together, and that is, and that's really a beautiful thing.
We have a lot of fun together, and we have a website. It's a couple of websites out. Facebook is, I Am Homicide Fan. Then it's I Am Homicide Fan page. One has 2,000. One has about 300, and we chit chat. I mean, I'm not a stranger. I don't want to be a stranger to America. I want to be somebody who's in your living room on Tuesday nights at 10 every Tuesday.
Exactly.
That's a crazy guy.
Exactly. Well, Gary, it has been an honor and a privilege talking with you. Garry McFadden, everybody, catch him on I Am Homicide on Investigation Discovery every Tuesday night. You're not going to want to miss that. And check out the suits he's wearing. The guy's got some style. But, guys, end of another show. We got to get out of here. On behalf of myself, Joel Sturgis, Mr. Eric Olsen, and the beautiful and talented Dr. Clarissa Cole, we'd like to thank you for listening to this edition of After Hours AM. And keep listening, and maybe you can invest into your community. See you next time. Thank you for listening to this edition of After Hours AM, and please remember to like us on Facebook and also follow us over on Twitter.